Hold on. I have a meeting. Sorry for the delay, Jeff.
No problem, man.
It's like, it's a weird button. Kids are coming out of school early these days.
Am I the only one on this time?
Looks like it. People were here and left because I was so late.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Okay. All right. Get myself like situated. I'm just like running up here. All right. Deny. All right, Jay. So my plan is to talk about executive communication, but since the two of us, if there's something specific you want to chat about, we can of course do that.
No, I'm down for your agenda. I still have to go through that entire library you gave me yesterday.
No rush.
Those guys haven't, it's worrisome to me because they haven't scheduled the second interview, which leads me to believe I fucked up the first interview somehow, which I don't know.
Well, it's only because you're nervous. It may be true, may not be true.
I'm super paranoid right now, man. And it's weird because like she took 46 minutes of a 30-minute scheduled call. I don't want to overanalyze, but
here you go.
But I do feel like she had some more questions that she felt she wasn't disciplined enough to ask during the call. She's like, yeah, I still have a couple things I wanted to go through, but I'll ask him, and I sent her a plan letter afterwards saying, hey, what are those questions you had? And she's like, she never answered my question. She just said, thanks for the note. And then, and she's like, I'll let you know any next steps. She said an exclamation mark, like, thanks for the note. I know she's moving up to Boston. She's whatever, but I didn't like the any next steps versus.
I don't like that. I don't like that as much as I want to go, dude, chill. I don't like the any next steps and the not answering the question.
Yeah. I asked her, what are the questions? What are the next questions that you had?
I'm like, I don't know if it's helpful. I live in Boston. I'm like, can I like give you recommendations? All right. Well, anyways, let's ride then. All right. So I will say, I'll give you a couple things that I wouldn't say to other people because I know what you're trying to do. And then we'll talk about all the communication stuff as a whole.
Cool.
All right. So first thing is one way that I actually got one of my first customers, and it helped as my first few customers, probably my first like 5 customers. Now I think about it is when I was nobody and I was working a job, I sent out, I just got a Zoom account and decided I'll do a webinar on a certain topic around sales. And then I just hit up a button. I branded it. I put a fucking image on the thing, whatever. And then I hit up pretty much everyone I knew that was like in leadership and was like, hey, I'm doing a webinar on this. It's just for me. Like I love sales and I want to get more into this kind of thing. And it was like, as a result, somebody joined and was like, hey, I'm trying to get a job. Can you coach me? That was so helpful. Somebody didn't join, but was like, actually, can we hire you? We need sales training at our company. And I was their sales trainer for like 3 fucking years. And then another person was like, hey, I can't help you, but I do need you to like be a fractional leader for me. So I was like, I know those for sure. So it's kind of like an easy way to be like, yo, you hiring? Hey, do you need someone to hire without being like, do you want to hire me? I'm your friend or whatever. So it can be a way to make some things happen there. One. Cool. Anyways, and then you know how to get a job, I'm sure, but the referrals, friends of friends is the move to go. Don't apply. The key is, or one of the keys I found when I was in a leadership position that didn't work so much in the AE kind of roles when I was younger, is I put my resume in a Google Drive and I got a calendar or whatever. And then what I did was, here, I'll show you exactly what I did. Maybe it's helpful, maybe it's not, and then we'll move on from it. But ask any questions if you'd like. I got 16 interviews from this, so I might as well show you, right? Here, you have access to this, but I'll put it here. So if you'd like it, you can snag it, but this, cool. So this is exactly what I used. So I went and said, let me just go find every company. Oh, I'm in the wrong spot. Hold on, let me share. Yeah. I'm like, let me find every company that could be interesting. So I started just Googling, like, I was in the HR space. So I'm like, all these different HR companies, software, whatever. I just wrote a quick, like, what is it? Because I forgot later. But the key was like bulk doing this task. So like I had like 90 companies probably, maybe even more than that. After doing that, I then went and looked for jobs in their pages. I didn't do these together because it was like annoying. So after that, I would then look at jobs to see if they had a role. And if they did, I put the link to the role. And then I went and I was like, cool, who do I know at that company or who's the second connection? And then I would write down who that person was. And so then my note was, I send a note to like Danny Gotthelf here that was like, hey, Danny, like, here's this job. Here's my resume. Here's my calendar. I'd love to get, could you refer me or could you forward this to such and such person that works at this company? And I got the majority of the interviews I ended up getting. I got with people just booking on my calendar, like not being like, yes, please click apply. We'll put you in our system. It was like CEOs or whoever just being like, yeah, that sounds great. I'll open up. Let's just like book on my calendar. So anyways, nice. Use it, don't use it, whatever. That's how I got a bunch of interviews.
Nice. No, I'll definitely do that.
Okay. So I was talking to somebody. Yeah. So I was talking to somebody about this yesterday. Here we go. Talking about executive communication. The most important thing to get right when it comes to executive communication is speaking in frameworks. Frameworks, try to think of these as just memorable combinations is really all a framework is. And it doesn't have to be real. Like everybody, medic is a framework, BANT is a framework, the science of scale is a framework. But that's just like you make something up and then you put a fucking name on it, right? And that really is what a framework is. So when it comes to creating a framework, especially on the fly, I like to think about shapes, visuals, or stories. So a shape would be like, let's say the thing I want to say is there's two things. I'll be like, it's like a ship or it's like an oval where there's a top and a bottom, or it's like a boat where there's a front and a back just because it's two, or a triangle because there's three things, or a bar stool because there's three things. You know what I mean? Yeah. So just using that shape or visual is really helpful. And the other way would be like a story or an analogy. But it might be like, listen, when you're trying to figure out how to get people to forecast, you got to remember that all everybody wants when they get a Hungry Man dinner is the dessert. And you got to force them to make sure they eat the vegetables first. Here's what I mean. You want to make sure the CRM is up to date before you allow them to go. So it's just a matter of organizing your thoughts into a visual, a story. I will say that the last one I'll save here to say, I think the easiest way to come up with frameworks on the fly is alliteration. There's a personal, professional. There's, there's a high and a heat, whatever. So just coming up with those makes a big difference. Now, where do we use this? Of course, in interviews, the number one place you're going to use this is when there's every single question they ask you. And in that same thing I put in the chat here, there's a section where I basically say, if you're interviewing for a role, whether it's fractional or otherwise, you want to think through what are the 2, 3, 4 categories of questions I'm going to get, not the exact question. And then the idea is when you hear that category, you're just answering your off-the-shelf category question as opposed to trying to answer that individual question. It's like when you watch the presidential debates, they're not prepping with like, what is the specific plan to get Susie from Alabama out of homelessness? They're just like, when it comes to equity, here's my agenda.
Right.
Right. So we want to do the same thing. So they'll be like, listen, we have a team here. And one of the things that's really challenging is we're not able to like know how much we should be planning on for our CS team because there's so much stuff coming from the sales team, but we don't know how much is coming in. I'll be like, great. When it comes to forecasting, my take on forecasting is there's a subjective approach, an objective approach, and a mathematical approach. So you got to have all three legs of this parcel to make it make sense. Then I'll go on a whole tirade about what I mean by subjective, objective, and mathematical. But when I have it that way, number one, it sounds like I know what the fuck I'm talking about, even if I don't. Number two, it's easy to remember. So when later they're like, who was good? Was it the guy with the blue shirt or was it that dude with the hair? Because that's what they're saying. That's what you said about people you've interviewed, I'm sure. And you're like, dude, that guy with the freaking shirt, man, I just want to know, what was it, chef? What the hell was he saying? So they're going to just think, you're talking about you. If you don't, and it's memorable. And the third, and this has been most helpful for me, it forces you to be concise by accident. Like if I said to you right now, tell me how you're doing, and you just said you went on a tirade, and you're just gonna go.
Right.
But if you started with, well, there's two things I want to tell you about, now your brain just like magically like creates two buckets, so it can help you not
help me stay confined without
yes.
Really. Okay, cool. I like that because that's what I always worry about.
Oh yeah, you go off on a whole tangent. I go off on a tangent. I mean, literally, I got most talkative in high school as a superlative, and now I'm like my job is to like speak concisely and try to deliver things in a memorable way. And the way has been me saying like, okay, there's three things, there's two ways. In the beginning, I had to just remember to do that. And it didn't come second nature. Now, because I'm so confident in my ability to come up with things on the fly, because I've done it so many times, now I will, without having any idea what I'm going to say, I'll be like, there's three things that are critical there. And I'm like, I'll figure it out. So that's cool. So number one, you want to speak in frameworks. Within frameworks, you want to make sure you're either using alliteration, shapes, stories, or visuals to categorize your framework. In interviews, your answer, subject, what's up, Andrew? In interviews, your answer to any question should be, my framework is blank, or my take on that is blank. You then fill it in. Just like if we were having a sales call, we actually in sales calls constantly work in frameworks. So we'll be like, listen, when it comes to our product, there's a front end, a back end, and an admin. Or there's really like the user experience, and there's also the manager experience. Like we're already doing that so that we can like organize what we're doing. Like a gym, there's like treadmill area, and then there's like a weights area. So that's already natural. Your brain will be able to figure. So that's number one thing, is to speak in frameworks. If I could give you a to-do, the task would be, at the end of this call, pretend that your boss were to ask you 2 or 3 questions that your boss typically asks you. How's the forecast? What's going on with the team? How are we looking for next month? Right? Some question like that, and go, how would I answer that question? Or what's the culture on the team like? The culture on the team is really 2 main parts. There's a profit-driven part, and there's also a people-driven part, if I'm honest. They're all having a good time. We're getting beers. We're getting drinks. Everyone seems to be doing good. But at the same time, everyone's wicked money motivated, and we're doing X. Okay, so that'd be my challenge to you. Okay. The next thing with executive communication is one framework that I want you to memorize, which is what, why, so what. What, why, so what. When your boss is asking you a question, they want to know those 3 things. What's happening? Why is it happening? And so what are you going to do about it? And that could be, what's happening is everything's going great. Why is it happening? Because it's fucking awesome. You know what I mean? So what I'm going to do is nothing. That's fine, if that's how it is. But when people are micromanaged by their boss, I find that they keep asking the same questions. They're like, that's not why that's actually happening though, Tim. It's not that the team isn't getting enough support. So no, we should not buy that software. And so they're arguing because you didn't know why it was the problem. Or it's one of these 3 things every fucking time. Because I talk to CEOs every day who I'm like asking about their leaders, and they're like, he's doing this, but like he doesn't realize that's the wrong thing to do. Or he's doing this, but that's actually not solving the core problem. Or I keep telling him this, but he's not understanding what the actual problem is in the first place. And I'm like, they're all missing what, why, so what. Big chug of water. Here's what that sounds like. And this is actually a better example of that you could use afterwards of if my boss were to say, what's up with the forecast? What's happening? You could use the exact words. What's happening right now is the sales team is missing. I'll give an example of a client I have right now. What's happening right now is the sales team is missing their target. And why that's happening is because we haven't been following up on punitive things. It's because we have bottom reps on the team that we've allowed stay there that are sucking up everybody's time. Those are really the 2 main things. So what we're doing about it is every day we're having a check-in at 8, at noon, and at 4 to basically say, do you have your calendar right? Are you doing the right thing now that you've been working on your calendar, and did the day go as it was supposed to go? This should solve both the will issue, because they have to tell us every 4 hours if they're doing it, as well as the people getting their time sucked up, because we can have managers now managing by just making a quick phone call. Okay. Sounds like you got it under control. That's what you want your boss saying. Sounds like you got it under control. And if you're, I'll bring this to really hammer this home, hopefully, when your reps come to you, they go, I got this deal. I'm like, how do I figure out like how to get the discount right? And you're like, well, what's going on? Well, he hasn't, I sent him the email, but he hasn't responded back. And well, the next way, why hasn't he responded back? He hasn't responded back because, like he's on vacation. So I don't know what to do. And you're like, okay, well, like now that I know the things, I can guide you. But anyways, all I'm saying is that we also hate people don't talk to us this way. So what is happening? Why is it happening? So what? So next time your wife asks you, like, what are we doing for dinner? Well, what we're doing for dinner is we're going to have something delicious. Why we're going to have it delicious, I'll tell you right now, is because I'm hungry. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make steaks. I'm going to make burgers. I'm making fries. What's happening with the forecast? Right now, the forecast is not in a good spot because the team isn't putting it into CRM. So I'm going to be yelling at everybody to put it into CRM. So anything you should be able to speak in those 3 things. What was so?
Yeah, I dig it.
My question, do you find that or well, at least I do, and I'm looking for validation, I suppose.
Sure.
Sometimes those questions are they're not the they're not what is being asked. They're like a broad version of it that maybe leadership isn't asking you exactly what they mean because they kind of know what they want to what
Can you give
want
me
you
an
to get
example of
to.
something? I'm not picking up what you're putting down.
How's the forecast going?
Yeah.
It may be I need to answer to the board what's going to close the next 3 months, or it may mean is the pipeline growing with the like new hires that you've brought on, or it may mean why is it different this year than last year?
Sure. So you
And
don't
you're
know.
like you know that they're trying to get to something, but they're not. It's just like a which one am I answering in this
Yep.
situation?
Yep. So the let me say it this way. If you felt super, I want to give a good example to make you really get this. If you met me at a party, I'm like another dad or something, and that's going to be too hard of an example. Come on, analogies. Come on, analogies. I can't come up with an analogy. I don't have it, so I'll just say it this way, which is to say, the only reason that you're not asking, I believe, the only reason that you're not asking the clarifying question of what do you mean, like in which way, or I want to answer that. I can't. Let me tell you a great way we can do that. Which way are you thinking? Sort of where we are now for the board. What are you thinking? I would argue that you're not asking that question because you're afraid that makes you look stupid, to not know what this person wants and just give the answer, and like whatever you say should be the thing. And so I think that what I was trying to get is an analogy of like a time when you might feel very, very secure about your position in whichever relationship you're speaking with, and then you would say like, "What do you mean?" Where with your boss, it's hard to say, "What do you mean?" because you feel like he thinks you're an idiot. That said, if you don't agree with me there and you're like, "No, it's not that, Mike. It's my boss is fucking crazy or whatever," I'm fine saying that, but still, it's gonna be different every time. Then I would still answer the same way because what you're still showing is like a full understanding. The problem is when it's like, what's happening with your deals? And you're like, let's say your deals. Yeah, everything's looking good. Now I'm like, okay, so when I asked this guy the actual thing I cared about, which is like, why are your top deals not closing? Now I have no fucking trust he's going to answer it appropriately at all. Whereas if he answered like, yeah, when it comes to the deals, there's two things that are happening. I got big deals coming in, small deals that are slipping. Why that's happening is this. What I'm doing is this. Then he'll feel comfortable going like, all right, no, I meant more for the board, and I think you'll be in a better spot. So, Anthony, hold on. Cool. That's what I got there. The other thing I want to give you, I'm going to give you two quick frameworks, and then I think it's two, and then I'll give you one last thing. So the frameworks, I use these all like this is like ubiquitous, like our generic framework: quantity, quality, distribution. Joe, you've heard me talk about this before, which is like in any situation, I could do more of it or less of it, better of it or not as good of it, or I could use my time differently. So like what's happening with the team? I could go, well, from a quantity standpoint, we have the team we need. Quality wise, I think we're kind of missing in a couple of areas. That said, I'm trying to distribute my time better with the top reps. Awesome. What's happening with the forecast? Well, the forecast right now looks good. The only issues we're having is we're not having a quantity issue. We are having a quality issue. We're not having a distribution issue. So from a quantity perspective, we have enough deals. Quality wise, we have too many deals that are on the smaller side. And distribution wise, we're spending far too much of our time on the smaller deals. Sweet. Did you have my phone?
What?
You have my phone? You want to watch a show here? Go grab my phone. Watch a show up here.
I don't know where your phone is.
I gave it to you. I think you had it on the couch.
Oh, I didn't. I don't know where it is.
All right.
I thought you were in this silly crocodile.
No, not silly crocodile. I don't have it. So you can grab my phone. Come on.
I don't know where it is.
Check it in the living room. So then the second one that I have is outside of quality distribution is reduce friction or increase incentive. This is also, these are just two opposites. So it's like, do we need to make it easier for someone to buy on our website? Do we make it easier to hire reps? Do we need to make it easier for the reps to get the training, make it easier for reps to say the words they should be saying? Or do we need to make them more motivated to buy on the website, offer discounts? We make them more motivated for the reps to do what they should be doing. We need to make the customer more motivated to get 3 people in their trial. But you can always use reduce friction or increased incentive. And then the last thing I have is pause, down, pause. This is hard to learn, easy to keep doing, and makes you sound like a damn TED Talk speaker. Okay. Pause, down, pause is at the end of sentences, paragraphs, whatever you want to call it. You pause before the last syllable or so, and then you move your voice down, maybe lower, maybe quieter, and you finish your sentence. and then you pause one more time before the next sentence. So, for example, it might be, I've been doing it all throughout this call, by the way, and that's why you're so engaged and so sucked in, by the way. But I'll give you the one I always do. From a TED Talk, this sounds like a TED Talk. Clap, 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 clap. The first Thursday of June 1st was the worst day. I thought I was going to have a day with my daughter. And it turns out instead, now, wouldn't you believe that what I was trying to, you see how, turn the volume down, bud? You see how it sucks you in? But what each of the pauses do is it implies I believe I am important enough for you to just sit here and do nothing. That's like what's happening. No one's saying it. That's not what you're feeling even, but it implies that, right? But when you do pause right before the end of a sentence, it like hammers the sentence home. So I could also have said on June 1st at 10 a.m. on June 1st, it was one of the worst. I thought it was going to be one of the best days of my life, and it ended up being the worst. Fine. June 1st, 2020 was going to be one of the best days of my life. Turns out it was the worst. That pause right before really lets you hear the whole sentence, and then you hammer it and they go, boom, I get it. And then the next sentence comes. So I use this all the time. The trick that I have, because I can't stand silence and I feel like everybody hates me, and so I need to fill it and all that stuff, is two things. Number one, I breathe. So I'm like, I can't just pause. I can't do it. So I'll be like, was the best time of my life. So I'm like, I feel like I have a reason for it, And the other thing I do is I do this. This is a Mike Manzi thing. So I'll throw a hand gesture. So it almost seems like I'm thinking. It's like June 30th was one of the worst days of my life, or June 30th was one of the worst days of my life, versus June 30th was one of the worst days of my life. Like, I can't do that. I can't just fucking pause. Too much to do it. So anyways, those are my tricks there. So you want to speak in frameworks. Easiest framework is alliteration. Other frameworks are going to be visuals or shapes or stories. You want to use quantity quality distribution, or reduce friction or increase incentive. For executives, what is happening, why is it happening, and so what? And then you want to finish always with pause, down, pause. Cool?
Very cool.
Been helpful as always. This is recorded. You know where to hit me up for anything you guys need. I will see you very soon, okay?
Thanks.
Word. Thanks, bro.